Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're giving you guys our final review of Välde by Humanity's Last Breath. So we've listened to this album over and over and over throughout the entire week. Vile, what do you think?
I'm going first. Okay, this is interesting because I'm really curious to know what you thought about it, because here's the thing. A lot of times throughout the week we'll message each other and say like, hey, how are you liking this? You know, this part, that part. We didn't talk about this album at all through the week.
No.
We didn't speak at all about it.
Nope.
So he has no idea what I think and I have no idea what he thinks. But I'm starting. Okay, so as you guys know from my first impressions, if you watched that, I was pretty much on the low end of this album. I didn't find it that impressive. I was having a hard time getting into it in my first impressions, and I gotta say that continued throughout the week. I'm probably going to annoy a lot of people because a lot of you guys really love this album and wanted us to review it and stuff like that. But I can't lie. I gotta tell you guys my findings and how I feel. So when I'm listening to an album, so typically here, this is kind of how I do it. I'll have it on mostly in the background. It's just on while I'm doing chores, playing video games, driving the car. I'm at work, it's playing, you know, where I'm working, whatever. And with most albums, I'll be able to like pick out things. Something will jump out at me and go, oh shit, what was this song? And I'll look at the track and go, oh yeah, this is nice. This is going on my playlist. Like stuff like that happens to me all the time. And I'm always usually able to put like one or two songs in my playlist for most albums. This one, I had like nothing was speaking to me. So I gave it some focus listens. Headphones, did nothing else, sat there and listened to the album twice. Really tried to soak it in, just like another listening session. There's a couple parts of a couple songs where I kind of went, you know, that's pretty good, but is it really that great? I don't think so. So Spectre is one of those songs and Dehumanizes is the second song. Both those songs, I would say, have certain parts, certain sections where I went, there you go, that's something I can get into. But regarding those parts, they still weren't anything that I've never heard before. Like, I've heard this stuff before. It all sounds like regurgitated stuff. There's nothing that's really stand out to the point where I'm like, that was sick, never heard anything like that before, that was unique, that deserves to go on the playlist. There's one part on this album, on this entire album, which is over an hour long. How long was it again?
It's like about 50-ish minutes.
Okay, so it's about close to an hour. One part that constantly grabbed my attention when I was listening to it. And not in a good way. It's the most annoying fucking thing.
Can I guess what this is?
You'll know it, go ahead.
Is it the siren in, what was it, Välde?
In Välde.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that track number 9.
Yeah.
It sounds like some sort of naval vessel or some sort of foghorn or some sort of whale call. Whatever the F it is annoying as fuck. Whoever's idea was to put that in the song or on this album deserves to get fired. It's the only thing when I'm listening to this that my ears went, oh, there's that fucking part again. It's the only thing that stands out because everything else sounds the same. The drummer is probably the highlight of this album.
Put in work.
He puts in work. But is it anything special? I couldn't find anything. Maybe my pea brain is not technically proficient enough to notice this extravagant set of rolls he was doing. I don't fucking know. Okay? But as someone who's been listening to metal for close to 30 years, I have a pretty good grasp on when something is impressive and when something is run-of-the-mill. To me, this was good, but as far as the genre goes, it's run-of-the-mill. Vocals are the same thing. Not a bad vocal performance, but very run-of-the-mill. Over-processed, very basic and kind of... Run-of-the-mill is the phrase I'm going to use. It's just the most basic form of vocal you can have. Doesn't deviate much from that. This album was very, very basic for me.
So, before I really get into my thoughts, a thing about the drums... I thought the drumming was very good, but I feel like it's being held back not by it on its own, but everything around it.
Could be very true.
And I guess this will go into how I feel. So I feel kind of similar as to how I felt my first impression, because in our first impressions, we kind of felt the same, where it's like, okay, it's just one thing over and over. And after listening to it for a week, I can say that it's still that. Like, it's still kind of one song happening a bunch of times. However, I kind of looked at this album a little differently as I was listening to it. I'm like, you know what? This is a soundscape. As I'm listening to this album, it's like you step into a door and now you're floating in like an abyss. And you kind of float there for 50 minutes and then you leave.
That's one annoying abyss.
Now, here's the thing. I didn't dislike that soundscape that was created. Like, I'm listening to this album, there are cool grooves that I enjoy, cool atmospheric sounds that I do like, but it's like, can I tell you how many songs, yeah, this one had that, this one had that? No, because they all do kind of sound like the same thing. There were a lot of moments where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a cool little part happening right there. What song is it? Okay, it's that one, cool. And then it's like something just like it happens. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Is it that song again? Oh, it's a different song.
Yeah, but it's the same type of vibe.
The same thing. So it's weird because it's like I like some of the things that they're doing, but it does get repetitive to the point where it is kind of just one thing. The only moment on the album that really stood out to me as something where I was like, yeah, there's that thing again, is this little guitar bit in Earthless, and I feel like I mentioned it, where it's like, it's in the breakdown at the end. I may have even mentioned it in our reaction to the video, but it's whatever, guitar plays and then like just goes a tiny bit down, like a half step or something.
Yeah, I think it does it twice actually.
It does, yeah. And I like that. Every time that came out, I'm like, yeah, I like that little part.
Yeah.
But that's like the only time I really had something of that level of, yeah, here's that thing again. Everything else is just kind of like mixed together. But I didn't dislike the overall sound of it. I kind of liked the atmosphere that was here on this album. It's just there's still no contour. Yeah. I listened to the last record, Abyssal, and I will say that has a lot more contour than this, for sure. I will say that that album actually felt like it had some direction to it. Obviously similar sounding stuff, it's the same band.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like stuff had more direction. The form felt a lot more cohesive. Not to say that this, Välde is like a completely through composed album, because it's not. There is some structure to it, but some songs honestly kind of feel like they're a little bit through composed, which, to explain what that means, it means completely free form. There's no patterns, there's no nothing. When a song is through composed, it just kind of does whatever it wants.
Right, and that's due to all the syncopation that they implemented on the album.
To a degree.
Which,
I mean,
yeah.
A form is pretty much the structure, right?
Of the song, yes.
So the syncopation doesn't really dictate what the form is, that's just a section, a part of the form. So, some songs on this album have that, have something coherent, but there are some songs that kind of just feel like they do whatever. And about that weird ship horn thing, I didn't like it either. Every time it came on, I'm just like, okay. The rest of that song I didn't mind as much, but that kind of just ruins that song. So this album, I like the grooves and I like the atmosphere it provides, but I don't like how it's not really organized at all. It's just kind of one thing. So it's weird.
It's really hard to put into words.
It's hard. It's like one long song, It's kind of like one big giant kind of thing.
In a way, because they kind of establish a style they're gonna go with, and they do not deviate from it.
Yeah.
They kind of stick with it for the whole 55 or whatever minutes. And like TV Fish said, there are a few grooves here and there that kind of do, stand out a bit. But they're too short, they're few and far between, and they all have their own same vibe to them as well.
I will say, however, I think this album is great as background music.
I was gonna mention that because I think this album is only good for background music, but it's not great for background music because unless you might as well have nothing on, because if you want music in the background just to be kind of noise playing, then it's okay. But if you want music in the background where you're gonna hear parts and you're gonna go, okay, the guitar solo's coming up, here we go, or the breakdown's coming up, here we go, or that cool, groove or that cool riff or whatever, which most other music will give you elements like that, this album will not give you those elements. It's just gonna play, and you're gonna probably forget it's even on, because nothing's gonna stand out and nothing's gonna grab your attention.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, because I felt that, like, when I would have it on the background while I'm busy doing something, I'd be doing whatever and then hear a cool groove coming on and be like, yeah, what's this? Yeah, this is cool.
Interesting.
But that would just happen. Like, that's just kind of what it was. It wasn't any specific sections. It's just like, oh, there's a cool groove on, nice. But other than that, it's kind of a good, just background sound to have. So I feel like that's kind of where this album shines, but only there. If you really focus hard on this album, you're kind of met with just one thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, I can't, like, I do like aspects of it, but I do feel like aspects of this album kind of just hurt itself. So with that being said, let's rate this album. Vile, what do you give Välde?
I'm gonna rate it. I know what my rating is, but I just want to say one thing. And that is that we've had a lot of comments of people saying that they really love this album. It's on their top 5 list already for the year. They don't see it dropping anything below that. You know, they're head over heels about this album. And I'd really like people to comment down below and tell me or tell us what it is. Because I try to like this. I never want to listen to an album and not like it. I want to like everything I listen to. But if I can't find anything to like, then I can't like it, right? So I want to know what it is about it that draws people to it. But I'm giving it a 5. I'm giving it a 5.
Okay, that's a reasonable score. As for me, like I said, I feel like there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff. Overall, I didn't have a bad time with this album. I didn't really listen to it and say, oh, I just can't with this. But I do feel like there's just a lot of things that could have been done to really make it better. So I'm gonna give it a 5.5. Just because there's a promise, and I did enjoy my time overall. It's not like I disliked it, but I really feel like there are organizational problems with the album. But I feel the same way as you. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts on this album. Tell us exactly what about this album really shines out to you, because I noticed as well a lot of people are really, really loving this album.
A lot of passion.
Anyway, guys, that's all we got for you today. A 5 from Vile and a 5.5 from myself. Remember to comment, tell us what your thoughts of this album are. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you guys are new, and check out Slay Thy Name. Use code Toe Tags to get 15% off. I'm TV Fish.
And I'm Vile Self.
And we'll see you guys later.